You got it? It's kind of like pinball. You're probably too young. You don't know what a pinball machine is, do you? Oh, you do? Okay, first I apologize for my dress. Kevin scheduled this for Wednesday, and he just told me about 30 minutes ago it was today. So, no, that's not true. He reminded me yesterday, and I forgot. But anyway, we're out of school, so I don't think anybody is too concerned about it. But we're back to work. We had our 3 practices. We canceled today's practice and tomorrow's practice. Inclement weather, so we didn't feel like we needed to go out. We had three practices scheduled for the remainder of the week up until we let them go home for Christmas. So we'll practice on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They'll go home. They'll meet us back out there on the 26th. We're in really good shape. Our team is healthy. Everybody's practicing. Jeremy Smith, we're going to hold him out one more week and let him get the extra 7 or 8, 9 days. And then when he shows up at the bowl, he should be really close to full speed. Team's attitude is great. I think we're playing what's probably the best football team that we've played against all year. I know everybody across the country is excited about the Stanford-Oklahoma State game. We're really excited about it. There's no question that Luck is a special player. In watching him, if you break down all of his throws in the pocket, out of the pocket, versus man, versus zone, his completion percentages are through the roof. He's really, really good, smart. He's well coached. He's big, strong. Everybody knows that. Their tight end's a really good player. They got backs that fit in their system. They're strong up front. Defensively, I said this, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago whenever we found out we were playing Stanford, that, their defense, nobody really talks about it much like ours. But statistically, they're doing really well. They're smart. They're in the right gaps. They're sound. So it's going to be a really good football game. As I said, we've always really liked where we're at as a football team. I'm really excited about Brandon Whedon and his opportunity to play in this game, and so we're looking forward to it. We need to finish up strong this week, let the guys have a few days off, and then we'll show up out there in Arizona.
Coach Gundy, have you had a chance to take a couple of deep breaths and realize that Oklahoma State is the Big 12 Conference champions and going to their first ever BCS Bowl game?
Well, yes. When we finished playing the Oklahoma game, the coaches all were gone on the road recruiting. I tried to get them to stay Monday and take the day off, and they wouldn't do it. They were all out of here recruiting, but I was in that week and obviously busy doing a lot of things for the bowl and some recruiting, but was able to kind of sit there and think some, and just thankful for the opportunity that I've had, that our staff has had, and that what our team has done for us. I don't think there's any question that it's changed the way people look at Oklahoma State football, so I'm really proud of our players for what they've been able to accomplish.
Mike, along those lines, I know the team goals are most important. You had a lot of guys recognized. A lot of guys came out of this with honors. How rewarding is that to you and the staff to see that many guys catch All-American honors? And, of course, Justin got the Biletnikoff award.
Well, in saying this in a humble way, to a certain point, I just stopped keeping track of how many guys were getting certain All-American honors, and there's a number of All-American teams. I think there's 3 or 4 that we really recognize as legitimate big-time All-American teams, and we've had a number of those guys. Obviously, Blackman's become a 2-time winner of his award and Biletnikoff award, and so the first meeting we had when we got back, I mentioned to the team that how proud our coaching staff was of the honors we received, and that I wanted them to understand that Blackman and Garner and Markell and Levy and all those guys that have made All-American teams and have gotten individual honors, it can't be accomplished without everybody else. And so we've always talked about that, and the team understands it. And what I really like is these guys are unselfish players, and sometimes you can have a little friction amongst players when other guys become recognized individually, and we don't have that with our team. So that's a big part of team chemistry, and kind of explains where we're at today because of them being unselfish.
You said in July, Mike, that you would like to get 1,500 yards out of Randall and Jeremy Smith, and comparable production from those two, what you got from Kendall, and now they're at close to 2,000 yards and 32 touchdowns. Are they just better than than you realized, or is Todd's usage of the two getting a little different than you anticipated going into the season?
That was a pretty good prediction, wasn't it?
What?
That 1,500 yards with them combined?
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like that when I said that. I think they're both better. I know Jeremy Smith's better than he was, but we started to see him improve at the end of the season, and we were hoping that he would continue through. His mental approach and his attitude is so much different than it was a year and a half ago, and that's why he's become a good football player. Joseph Randall was probably the best freshman running back in the country last year, and he started out really good. He went through a little point in the season when he got out there a little bit, wasn't staying focused. We all saw that, and then he refocused in the Oklahoma game, and he's got an opportunity to continue to be a really good player for us. So the combination of what Todd and Jamal and Joe Wickline have put together in the running game, Todd delegates more so than what Dana did and listens, and now he has his input, but it's more of, okay, Joe, what do you want to run? Jamal, what do you want to run? And I think that that's helped our staff. It's not a knock against Dana. I just think that's helped us. It's improved our running game. And Todd had a little more of a background with some heavier running game than what Dana's background was. So that would be the reasons, and that's what's contributed to those guys having more success.
It's always been defined here by one big-time back, all the way back to the 70s.
Right.
So from this point on, do you expect, is it going to be your preference to kind of go with a two-guy deal where they get close, maybe not close to equal, but a substantial number of carries for a backup guy?
We think that's the future. We don't think one running back can take the pounding playing at this level in this league that backs used to. And not that they're not as physical, but it goes back to what we've talked about in here for 2 years. There's a lot more plays in a game than there used to be, and it moves too fast. They can't stay, in our opinion, they can't stay in there and play like we used to. And so they don't get a chance to huddle up and rest. So we need three. That gives us 2 deep with a young backup in a one-back set. It gives us 2 guys in our 2-back set with a backup. And then we need to have a fullback in there to get into our 3-back package.
Mike, I know this is a 99-to-1 shot, I guess, but in a backdoor kind of way, are you still hoping that a national championship could be happening in an AP? Are you playing for that, or are you just playing to win a BCS?
Well, we're playing to win the BCS. I would like for our team to have every opportunity that's out there because I think that they've earned it. But our focus and the players' focus will be on preparation. We want them to enjoy each other at the bowl site, have a good time, and then we want them to be in perfect condition with fresh legs when we play on the 2nd. And then they have to go play hard and win that game. We'll see how that works out, and then we'll proceed to the next point.
Why? Do you think a lot of the players knew there was a possibility of a split championship, or is that? And they mentioned that you brought it up to them in meetings. Why did you do that?
I don't think they had a clue before it. They're too young. I don't know when the last time that happened.
03.
Yeah, well, maybe some of them are too young. But for the most part, I just don't think that they know anything other than the BCS. And we mentioned to them that before the Oklahoma game, they had a chance to be first-time conference champions at this school. Well, now if they want to work hard and play hard and have a chance to do something separate or something different than they had before, then that's a goal that they could accomplish. I mean, that's somebody else's opinion, but that's something that could happen.
Mike, despite ESPN's breaking news that Justin's going pro, he says he's not certain that if he decides that he might not, would you try to talk him out of not going pro?
We'll have one available if he decides he wants to come back. We'll have a scholarship. If not, then during these contract negotiations, I'll take part of the money out of that and get him a scholarship. I can't imagine, but he's welcome to come back. Love to have him.
Could he go through 2 senior days? Would that be allowable?
You bet. There's exceptions for everything.
Coach, it also goes into a BCS game as far as outside commitments, media stuff. Does that worry you, keeping the team focused throughout all of that? And how do you plan to do that?
We always worry about keeping them focused, and it should be easier now than it was during the season because school's out. So they're with us, they're practicing, they're lifting, they're watching tape. And then when they go home, they're with their family, then they show back out there with us, and it's really us together. You know, we have the resort that we're staying at, going to and from practice. We eat together, spend a lot of time as a group. There should be fewer distractions, but, I mean, I'm sure there's television shows on during the day that are bowl, you know, previews and things like that, but I'm not as concerned about it now as I was during the season.
How long is it going to take the guys to get past that? We're the third team and we're not playing for that title game to move on to getting ready to beat Stanford?
It hadn't been brought up. You know, we gave them 2 weeks off and they showed back up here, and I hadn't heard anybody say anything about it. I think they understand that they can't change it now anyway, and they've moved forward.
Coach Gundy, congratulations on being National Coach of the Year. It's a well-deserved honor. Can you talk about what it means to you?
Again, you know, it's not something that I could accomplish without our staff. And I've always said that a Coach of the Year honor is really directed toward the coaching staff and everybody that's involved that's helped. So I do think it's a great honor for Oklahoma State, and I think it shows that you know, our coaching staff has continued to teach and to bring young people along and get them to play hard and have success.
You're a guy who thinks about the history of the game. I mean, I know you've Vince Lombardi. I mean, I've seen where, you know.
You got class, or?
No.
Oh.
I've seen where you've got some of his books around, and you looked up to some of those coaches. You know, does it mean a little extra that it's the Eddie Robinson Award? Because, I mean, again, you have a sense of football history.
I will have to admit that when they sent over the or faxed a sheet, and I had to read through it to know what to do when you win it, they had a list of winners on there. And if you start at the bottom and work your way up, some pretty big name guys in college football, and so that was a little bit of a surprise to see my name up there with those guys. How about Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler, and I mean the list goes on. And Eddie Robinson, who obviously has accomplished more than anybody, and won that many games and had so much success at that school. So I'm very proud for Oklahoma State and glad that we had the opportunity to win the award.
Mike, with your winning percentage now at somewhere around 667 here at Oklahoma State and 2 11-win seasons in a row and a possible 12th coming up, does that in a way help you in further contract negotiations?
Obviously not. I mean, I don't have anything to say about that. I knew that was going to come up, and there's just really not anything for me to say about that. I would prefer to keep that under wraps. I wish that we didn't have to make those situations public, but it's not going to change, and I just don't feel comfortable in talking about contract negotiations. You know, the only thing I'd say is that I've made it real clear that I want to be here a long time. And they couldn't give me enough years for me to sign on. I mean, I wouldn't look at something and say, that's too many years. And I've already made that commitment. And so I want to be here for a long time, and hopefully we can get that worked out.
Do you feel they're stalled now, these talks? Or should they would you like to see Oklahoma State be a little bit more proactive in that regard?
I'm willing to sign up as fast as possible, and other than that, I really don't know what to say. I think it's good for the university. I think it's good for our football team. I think it's good for our coaches to continue to move forward as fast as we can.
Coach, so Sunday night when the BCS announcement was made, you mentioned you wanted to scrimmage Alabama. You seemed pretty serious about it. Just curious if that ever went anywhere. You made any contact with Coach Saban or anything like that?
You didn't just ask me that, did you? Seriously, I guess what I meant by that was I was defending our players, and I was upset and hurt for them, and that I wanted them to know that I was proud of what they've accomplished. And if somebody wanted to scrimmage, we'd show up halfway and scrimmage. And I was just having a good time with it. I wouldn't, obviously, trying to sneak the extra game in there.
You say you hope to resolve your contract situation soon? If not after winning 11 and the Big 12 title and the National Coach of the Year, if not right after that, then when? And why would this drag on into the bowl prep?
I can't answer that right now, and I'm hoping, and again I'm repeating myself now. I know you're not supposed to do that, to teach that in speech class, but I'm hoping that we can get it resolved really fast, and I'm just almost sure that we can, but I don't have an answer for that.
Who does? I'm not trying to be. I mean, seriously. I mean, is it in Mike Holder's hands exclusively, or is it more of a network in terms of decision making beyond just you and Coach?
I have not had contract negotiations with Oklahoma State. I've hired an agent. Everybody knows that, and he's been involved in those negotiations. And he only updates me if he thinks that I need information on what's going on, based on what he feels like is a fair contract. And if it gets too far away from one side or the other, then he'll contact me and we'll have a discussion. Other than that, I haven't had any talks with Oklahoma State officials regarding the contract.
Where it stands now, are you optimistic, pessimistic?
Optimistic. I mean, I'm certainly not going to say pessimistic.
Well, I think a lot of fans
could cost me money right there, you know. And again, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm hoping that we can get something worked out really soon. I believe a contract is an agreement between two parties, to where when both of them walk out of the room, they feel like it's fair. And so I'm hoping that we can do something really soon.
Do they understand that it could affect recruiting? I mean, Coach Holder was a coach. He must have recruited. It's not like recruiting in football. They understand that.
I would say with a coach's background, yes, and I hope so.
Have you had any recruits say to you what's going on at home visits?
Not directly to details of a contract.
You find it interesting that, your situation in the postgame 4 years ago, you had a lot of media guys on you pretty hard for a while. And now those same people voted you the National Coach of the Year 4 years later. Have you thought about that in terms of that, how you come full circle?
Not really. There's been a number of articles that you guys read. I know you guys keep up with everything, but things that are positive or well written, even if there's some controversial statements in an article that's been published online or in the newspaper about our coaching staff or me, comes across my desk, so we can discuss whether it should be used in recruiting. And so there's been a number of articles that have come out starting about 4 weeks ago. There was a couple of them that were related to that topic. And I hadn't thought about it, Bill, until I read it. And there was an article that I say he's a young man, he looked pretty young to me in the picture, had written, and I don't even know where he was from. But it was very well written, because it had some critical statements in there, and then it had some information that if this happens and this happens, then really this is where Coach Gundy's at. And I thought it was very well written, even though it wasn't all favorable towards me. He had made some very good points. So I hadn't really thought about that until I had read that article.
What's the biggest challenge in a bowl game with the time off and so forth, especially when you stretch it out to like a BCS game, to keep continuity, to keep the offense rolling? Mm-hmm. Last year you beat Arizona, but the offense was a little off that night. Defense and special teams did a little bit more. How do you keep the offense in continuity? And is Todd maybe a little bit better at that than maybe Daniel?
Well, I think if you have a mature team, it gives you a better chance. And Brandon Whedon is a much different quarterback today than he was before we played Arizona in the bowl game. So I think he understands it. The focus of our team is very good. And I had mentioned to some of our administrative staff that I was visiting with yesterday, standing on the sideline during practice, that we've practiced pretty hard the last few days, and we've run our players and done some things that we feel like are important to give us the best chance to win the game, and not one of them have complained. So their attitude is very good, and you don't always get that from players during bowl season, because you can have some veteran players that don't really want to practice very hard during bowl season, but the reason that their attitude's good is because they won. Because they just won a Big 12 championship. We can tell them to do whatever they want, and they're going to do it with a great attitude. So that helps with the continuity more than anything.
As much grief as your defense has gotten, are you a bit surprised that Markel is on every All-American team?
No. Markel's been a good player for us for a number of years. I do think people have a little more respect for our defense now than maybe what they did 6 weeks ago. And they played well at times, and obviously they played well against Oklahoma. So he deserves to be on him for what he's done here for us, and again, it's a reflection of our team.
Does Stanford's running game kind of go under the radar whenever we think Stanford, they think Andrew Luck, but they've got a couple of talented guys back there.
They run the ball very well, and when you have a player like Luck on your team, then most of the notoriety is going to go to him. I mean, he's going to be the first player picked in the draft, from what I understand. And so attention can be taken away from other good players. And, for example, like Josh Cooper. Nobody really hears much about Josh Cooper unless you're here watching our games. And I think he's 2 years in a row. He's had 130 catches combined or something.
Number 5 all time here.
Right, he's number 5 all time. You don't hear about him. Well, that's kind of going on out there with their other players on their team. Because you have marquee guys, you don't hear much about the other players.
Mike, obviously these guys would be top NFL prospects without each other, but how does Brandon Whedon complement Blackman as far as an NFL prospect is concerned, and vice versa? How does Blackman make Whedon a better NFL prospect?
Well, both of them have the ability to play at that level, and obviously, I mean, when Whedon throws the ball, he's special. There's not many guys walking the face of the earth that can rotate a ball, spin a ball like he can, and have the velocity that he does. And you have the same thing with Blackman. I mean, when he catches the ball and makes a play and gets open and does all the things that he's done here for 2.5 years, he's just different. He's special. And so you wouldn't realize or wouldn't know how special Blackman was if we couldn't get it to him very much. And if we didn't have guys that had ability to make plays like Coop and Tracy and Blackman and Isaiah and Hubert and and number 5, Josh, those other guys, Whedon wouldn't look as good. And so I think them working together help both of them not only get a lot of recognition and help us win games, but also will help those guys when it comes draft time.
Did you know Brandon, when he first got here, did you think, yeah, this guy's going to win 22 games over 2 years for us?
Some of what he could do was hidden because he was in an offense that didn't really make him look good. We were in a read zone system with Zach and more run the ball, play pass, and that's not his forte. And so we knew he had ability, we knew he could throw it, but obviously we weren't aware of what he's given us today.
Coach, can you talk a little bit? I think we had several players go through graduation the other day. Can you just talk a little bit about what it's like to have players who are focused not only on athletics but scholarship as well?
We're doing very well here with graduating our players, and these guys you're talking about obviously went through a semester, and they're able to, the guys that graduate and get to go through ceremonies, to get out of a free practice. And so I told them that if you graduate, you don't have to come to practice. But we had a number of guys that finished up at semester, and that's what they come here to do. You know, we talk a lot about it, and I think coaches at times mention it, and they don't really care about it. It's important to our coaching staff that, 10 years from now, those guys can come back and they're doing something out there in the real world that is productive, and they're happy. And they can't do that, or I shouldn't say they can't. It's difficult to do it if they don't get a degree. They really have to overcome a lot of obstacles. And so it's good to see those guys get out early and have an opportunity to go out there and get a real job.
Have you decided what Chris Littlehead's status for the bowl is?
Yeah, he's not going to play in the game. That's correct.
What is Jonathan Rush going through the process of getting the 6th year, or are you certain
he will get a sixth year?
I'm certain.
You are certain. So how do you punish him?
Well, believe it or not,
I'm presuming.
yeah, believe it or not, we handle all this internally, and this is the most difficult part of handling the discipline with our players. A perception out there people may think that's the same. It's not always the same. And so I have to get all the information. I got to listen to everybody, listen to all different sides of the story, and then I have to decide what punishment each player should get based on what role they played, and then we move forward. But Littlehead's not going to play in the game.
How many plays did Chris wind up averaging? Maybe 25 or 30?
I'm going to say 18-ish. I thought I heard that number the other day, 18 to 22, something like that.
So he leaves quite a void.
A third of the game on, what would be 25% of the game maybe, or something like that.
How difficult is that for you? Because I realize you got to be strict, but you're also penalizing the guys that did nothing wrong. Well, really, you're not. He is. But.
That's correct. It's difficult for me to make those decisions, but I don't make them. I just kind of follow through. That's the decision that he made, and so the team understands that at any time they put themselves at risk to not be a part of what we're trying to accomplish, and then second, hurt their teammates. And I will say this for Chris. We've all been young. We all make mistakes, okay? I'm still behind him 100%, but he's lost his right to play in the bowl game.
Mike, what you guys did at the end of the year sparked a big debate about an and one or some type of extra game. Are you happy that that game has kind of helped spark this debate, and where do you stand on and one or some type of playoff system?
I don't think there's any question we all want a playoff. I don't think that it's ever going to happen at our level for a number of reasons. We could start listing them. We'd be here till dinner. But my opinion, and I don't know that this is foolproof, but I would suggest a Final Four. And I said this on national radio. Some of you guys probably already heard it. But if you look back at the history of the BCS standings, then most of the teams, or the four teams that are at the top at the end, there's usually an argument for them having the chance to play for a national championship. And you could always say, well, what about the fifth team? I mean, if you took 8, they'd want to know about the 9th team. But at some point, you have to sit down and compromise. And I think that the 1 team ought to play the 4 team with the 1 team playing at home, and the 2 team ought to play the 3 team with the 2 team playing at home the week after the season, and the 2 winners play for the championship on January 9th. That's my opinion. I don't see why that would affect anything, because the game's January 9th is a long ways off anyway. And you could play that game after the end of the season and still not get into finals week or dead week. That's the issue you run into is certain teams have finals and certain teams have dead week and other teams don't. So where do you play the games? Home, away? You're going to practice during finals week. You have all those issues to deal with. So that's
if that game's close, there's no debate probably today. No one's probably saying, in other words, what you did in the Bedlam game really kind of sparked that debate. If you don't win by 30-some points, there may not be a debate out there today about it.
I agree with that.
How do you rectify, Mike, the period of time that's between the last game of the regular season or the conference championship game and the January 9th? Is that okay? Do players need that time to recover and do the finals and all that, or can it be?
I think it should be about 2 weeks earlier, but it's all based on television money, right? And I don't think when it comes to television dollars, everybody could care less what I think. And everybody wants to play a national championship game, but nobody wants to wait 5 weeks to play in it. So I think it should be much earlier, but I don't know how you fit it all in. You would have to start eliminating bowl games, and I don't know what the answer is to that. You know, and I said this after I believe in the BCS system. I think it's a good system. I just think it needs to be adjusted a little bit to try to make it better and make more people buy into it. Actually gives us a chance to have that champion. I just don't think at any time until we have at least a 2-team playoff or a 4-team playoff or an 8-team playoff that everybody's going to be happy. And one thing I didn't say, John asked that question about, and I'd mentioned the Final Four. If you look back, that would allow some other schools like your TCUs and your Boise that, you know, they feel like they didn't have a chance. Well, they would have gotten in because I'm almost sure they finished in the top 4 in BCS standings. Am I right or not? But if they got in the top 4, then they get to play. They get to play in that playoff. So it allows everybody that opportunity.
Is there, I don't know what you're hearing, if you're hearing anything behind the scenes about West Virginia and their status, but is it possible you may go into the summer, early summer maybe, before you know absolutely what your schedule is going to be? Or will the Big 12 formulate a schedule based on the probability?
All that's going on, but I don't have any answers because I just said, let me know when y'all figure out what you want to do. That's one thing that I don't have to be concerned with, but I think everything you said is going on right now, and I don't know if they have answers yet, right?
You don't even know if you're going to Morgantown, if they're coming here?
I don't think anything's been settled. The last comment I heard made that we felt like had some substance was that West Virginia was going to take Missouri's schedule.
All I know is Nebraska's gone.
Yeah. So
TCU would take A&M?
that's the last I heard, but you know how that is. Nobody knows, but I think that's what their goal was. But I don't know if anybody has any answers on that right now.
How would you feel about going up against Dana?
Oh, I think it's good for our league. I think that West Virginia brings some excitement. You know, when you lose 2 teams that we wanted to stay in our league, then you want to bring teams into our league that can help with television dollars, that have won football games, and that play an exciting brand of football. And I think you got that with TCU and West Virginia.
Do you think you're going to hold your staff together, or there's still a chance that you might lose 1 or 2?
And I'm saying this really humble, but I'm thinking about starting a website that says hirecoachgundyscoaches.com and just let people come fill out an application. And then at the end of the day, I'll just go through, and I don't type good enough. I'll have somebody type and email them back, and then catch me up the next day. So
Frustrating, though, that people keep coming in here? I mean, because every coach would like to have a stable staff.
it is frustrating for me. But no, I'm for the coaches that are getting a chance to be a head coach. I think that's great. I don't agree with the way it works. I don't agree that assistant coaches interview for head coaching jobs when there's 2 games left in the season. And whether people believe it or not, that's a distraction. If I have a chance to interview and for a job and I can quadruple or 6-7 times over my salary, it's hard for me to focus on the next team I'm playing. I'm kind of thinking about this interview for that job. Well, that doesn't help Oklahoma State football, and that doesn't help the players. So I don't know that that's going to ever change either, but I don't think that schools should be able to interview coaches from other schools while they're still playing during the regular season, in my opinion. They need to wait till it's over. And now it's trickled down to the coordinator status, Dave. I mean, guys wanting to interview coaches for a coordinator job, not even a head coaching job, for coordinator jobs, and we're still playing games. And so the negative part of this is the players get cheated. I mean, it should be about the players, and it's not just Oklahoma State, it's other schools. But the players are relying on their coaches to do what's right and prepare the team and get them ready to play in a game. And it becomes a distraction, and I just don't agree with it.
So by you having retained an agent, does that keep your personal deal from becoming a disruption in the practice schedule and the day-to-day routine? And do you think your players even have any sense of any of that?
Honestly, Bill, I don't know how much they know about it. or how much they pay attention to it. I'm guessing they probably do because it's out there. It's not a distraction for our bowl prep because I don't really do anything. You know, I just make schedules and formats and kind of get everything ready, and then all those other guys are. I mean, I've watched stuff and I have my thoughts, and I've expressed that to Bill and Glenn and Todd and Joe. But other than that, they're the ones in the daily operation, and you know, I'm really kind of recruiting. So I'm going to answer. My answer to that would be no, because there's not enough going on for it to distract me. I'm not really involved in it. I'm just kind of going through the everyday operations.
A lot of schools are having a lot of trouble selling bowl tickets, and yours are gone in 4 days, 5 days, whatever. Your allotment. Are you just?
I think it's awesome.
Are you just astonished, or have you gotten used to it because your fans travel well?
Well, getting used to it, but very thankful that we're still used to it, because we all know this, the last 4 years in this state, it's been a serious issue. I mean, I got 3 young kids that are in Little League sports, and it's difficult for parents to have them on a club team because it costs too much to get them on a team, much less travel to their games. So you turn that over into entertainment dollars, and you look at where our season ticket sales have gone through the roof. We've set records every year when the economy's at the lowest, and we're in a financial situation or financial state which, you know, it's been, what, 70, 80 years since we've been this bad in this country. So for us to be able to sell 17,000 tickets,
17.5.
how much?
17,000.
17.5 in 3 days or whatever. I mean, it shows the support that Oklahoma State has for football right now. And I couldn't be any more excited because the Fiesta Bowl knows that. When you go to a bowl game and they're saying, well, if anything, we get these guys some more tickets, they're fired up. So the next time that happens, I know it doesn't work this way in the BCS, but other bowl games, well, how about Oklahoma State? I think you need to take Oklahoma State. How come? Because everybody goes to their games. So it's really huge for your future when we talk about bowl games.
What's with Virginia Tech this year? That's why they got named.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, but that's what, because they had a great following, right? Yeah.
When y'all took 30,000 to the Houston Bowl, because you hadn't been to a bowl except once in like 13 years.
Right.
Now this is 9 out of 10, so it's not like they're starved to death for a bowl. Yet they still 20, 30, 40,000
Right.
to go.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. One, it's a BCS bowl. They're all fired up. It's a great location, great weather, but it's a long ways out there. It's not easy to get out there. I mean, plane tickets from Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and you can get them out of Wichita. You know, if you get a round-trip ticket, you can't – I shouldn't say that. It's extremely difficult to even get one back on the 3rd. They're all gone. So you fly out whenever you want, because I've been doing this for everybody's I've got cousins coming out of the woodwork that think they want to go to the game now. So we've been doing flight reservations, and, you know, you're talking about you can get it from $430 up to about $600 for one person for a round-trip ticket. So family of 4, you're talking about $2,000 just for tickets. I mean, just for the airline tickets. Hotels aren't out there. They're really nice, and I mean, they're not giving those away. So you're talking about $3,500, $4,000 for a family to get out there and go to the game. Pretty close to it. So for us to sell those tickets that fast is pretty impressive.
Thanks, Coach.
Cut me off?
Yeah.
He doesn't like when I do dollars and stuff.